T-Bits community, welcome back to another Fusion World video. Today we are continuing the road to Gencon and the remaining of 2.5 format. I'm going to be talking about a quick guide to playing green. So green has been a color so far that has done very well. We have 2 regional wins and as well as a top 3 from a Gohan player, which is fantastic to hear about because that's the deck that we're going to be talking about in this video, ironically enough. So far, 3 out of the 4 decks seem to have been playing very well. And we'll start kind of with the first one that ended up winning an event, which was 17 and 18. This deck definitely seemed to be in the driver's seat for being the best deck in format and possibly the boogeyman. But there's been different variations of the deck, and I think that's what stops some players from being able to win or even just top with the deck. It's because of the way they are building their ramp engine. So there are 2 different variations we have seen that have been prominent in a lot of the regional videos and streams that I've watched so far, which is either the trifecta of Destructive Strength, Lab, and the 17 and 18, or they are playing the Lab and 17 and 18 and then just dropping the Destructive Strength altogether. I think both of these are the improper way of playing this leader, because you're adding between 4 to 8 dead cards in your deck that have no combo power and can do nothing for you unless you are using them on the field or you're charging them, which is not what we want. Green is already a weak color when it comes to combo power anyways, because you have to run so many dead cards. At least in earlier, in set 1 we had to. Now we have a lot more tools. We don't really need to focus on that particular line of play anymore, and we can go for more of a I want to say a riskier form of ramping, but something that's going to pay off later on in the game because we're going to be able to combo cards off. So the first big thing obviously is you are still going to be running the 4-drop. This is your main ideal bread and butter ramp on turn 4, but now we're going to be using the concept of the Trunks Future card. This is the proper way of playing 17 and 18. Do not play Lab. It works in some cases, especially if we are in a more dominant green format. Lab is going to be a little bit better because it's going to give you a ramp every single turn. It's going to allow you to play something like Cell 8-drop more so in this deck, because you're going to always be able to gain back an energy later on in the game, right? But I would say if you're not playing like a Cell sort of package in your droid deck, play these 2 cards. Don't worry about playing the field spell or Destructive Strength, really. The Destructive Strength has lost a lot of its power, and if you're still focusing on playing Destructive Strength, you're definitely not utilizing the other cards, especially the newer cards in green, to stabilize in the mid game and just having more ability to survive by being able to actually combo out cards. So 2 decks that, I mean, even though Broly did win a regional, I think it did top in Niagara Falls, I think, but both of these leaders I think are sort of on the back end of the green sort of spectrum here. I think these 2 decks are just a little too slow, more so Cell. Broly at least has the ability of being a 25k, so it makes him a little more difficult to remove or at least take life from. While Cell is just kind of still, I think it's too slow. And it's because they both primarily focus on these extra cards here to make their decks work. And if you don't see these extra cards, you're not really performing the same way, right? Like droids, you can at least play the 4-drop later on in the game as well, and it's a 10k and it's giving you back 3 energy. While Destructive Strength the second time is just kind of meh. And if you see a second Cells game, you're hoping that you can charge it. You saw it from your draw phase, right? So I think both of these extras are a little too slow. Hope maybe in set 3 we see something that's going to help these decks, whether it's in set support or it's going to be some form of promotional card that's going to come out. So then you have the 17, the Fuse Zamasu, and the Vegeta cards. These are all going to be used primarily against green, because these cards cannot be removed by KOs. So if you're looking at trying to remove one of these cards, there's really only one card I think just universally good in green, which is going to be the Big Bang Attack. I believe that can remove 17. Can't remove Vegeta, and it can remove Zamasu technically, but Zamasu would get played out again. So you have a little bit of a problem there. Now, the reason why I bring up these 3 cards in general is that there is one deck that has the ability of removing these cards, which is the Gohan. We're going to talk about that in a second. I do feel Gohan, I talked about this in our tier list video, is that I believe Gohan is the best green deck. And this is the deck that I would play if I'm playing in a big tournament. I'm going to be playing Gohan, the king of green in set 1. He's still the king of green. The facade of the droids being the better deck, it's cute on paper, but this deck just has way more that it can do, and it's a little more versatile than what that deck can do. So obviously, big combo here. We have 3-drop Trunks and 3-drop Goku that allow us to ramp early in the game. Obviously, Trunks, you need to have 5 energy, that's fine, but Goku, once you play him on turn 3, you can place him and up to one of your opponent's battle cards that cost 5 or less in their energy and rest mode, and this card goes in your energy and rest mode. What's nice about this is that this card gets around the KOing effect that we just talked about with these 3 cards here. So this card can put all 3 of these cards in your opponent's energy, which they get an energy for, so it's not a super great effect, but you at least remove the card on board, and that's actually sometimes more important. You're just getting that card off of the board. This is also a searchable card, still off of Gohan, and it's a 5k combo, so it makes it just inherently just better than the structure strength. And this is the only leader that can actually use that card, so it's why Gohan has a little bit of an advantage over the other green decks. Another big card, and this card is so good, is the 5-drop Son Gohan Future card. This card being able to KO a 3-cost or less, or play a 3-cost or less from your hand. I'm going to show you some different crazy loops you can do with this card in the deck here. A 10k, it's searchable. This card is just flat out probably the new better 5-drop to play. I would be playing this over playing the Ramp Ku Goku, just because of the mid-game potential that this card actually has. And then real quick before we get into the deck profile portion of the video, I do want to talk about this combination here. The Senzu Bean Corn combination is something that's sort of like, I want to say it's a surprise tech for green decks, but this combination can be used in any green deck and find success. Corrin, that card itself might not find success, just because unless you're playing into a yellow matchup, all of the other colors can remove a 1-drop pretty easily, right? Senzu Bean, though, giving your leader 5k or being able to heal that's pretty good, but the 5k portion of it basically allows you to floodgate a yellow player, and that's exactly what we want to do, since yellow is sort of our biggest weakness. So I'm gonna go over the deck profile real quick for you guys. I do think it's pretty spot on. It's slightly different than the list that ended up getting top 3 in the event this last weekend. And I'll talk about a few of those changes once we get here into the deck. Okay, so this is a 53 card list, so we're a little bit higher on the card list, but I honestly I don't think it makes a huge bit of difference, just because of how fast you actually go through your deck. So the first 4 cards, the first 8 cards here, these are your typical cantrip cards you can be playing in any of these Saiyan decks here. 3 Kamis to help remove a lot of the 1-drops that are going to be on board, and also as a 10k. 3 of the Trunks that you can use to remove the 2-drops, and also as a 10k. So these are kind of your defensive cards that you use, or the reactive cards. These 2 being your proactive cards, because you can play these in progression just with your normal turn, while these 2 are reactionary depending on what your opponent actually plays. 1-drop or a 2-drop respectively. You can use these cards to then remove those cards or just remove resources from your opponent's hand. 4 of the Goku ramp, because we want to be able to play this on turn 3. Also, if our opponent plays a big card on turn 3, maybe they sacrifice their energy marker to cheat out a card, we can punish them by using this to put that card in their energy. And yes, they get an energy for it, but they lose that card, which again is kind of the name of this deck, is even though you can give them energy, unless it's a green deck, and you're taking them to, in range of playing Broly, every other card that you're going to be removed is going to be worth it. Like, being able to remove 5-cost cards with this, you're paying 3 energy while removing 5 energy worth of their cards, it's unmatched. There's almost no other card in the game other than maybe like Gigantic Meteor that gives a similar amount of value for the cost of the card. This is my special tech, is Cell Jr. This might be my favorite non attacking battle card in the deck. So for 1, it's a 10k. The permanent effect doesn't matter. Playing this card adds 1 extra card from your drop to your hand, and we'll show you guys what you guys can kind of do with this. But being able to recycle extra cards consistently allows you to refill your hand, but also just allows you to grab back resources that your opponent might not have been counting on. right? So if you, let's say you only run three, just like, let's say you run one gigantic meteor, right? You can use this to get back gigantic meteor 3 times. Now your opponent wasn't really planning on dealing with that many gigantic meteors in a game. It makes it a little more difficult for them to play around. 3 of the ramp trunks. Again, once you've gotten the 1 ramp down, you might not be playing this anymore. At least hard casting this card, you might not play it anymore that way. 2 of the 4-drop Vegetas. This card's still very good. Ramps a 3 cost or more from the drop area, which can happen because we're not using destructive strength. This is normally not a good turn 4 play anymore. But if something gets crit, we combo something off, something dies that we played. This is just a good way of just gaining energy back. You also can fetch a card to kill a 2 cost or less, which is not very relevant anymore. But still a 10k at the end of the day, which is important. 2 of the Gohans. This KO is a 4 cost or less, primarily being used to remove yellow cooler. That card is kind of a nuisance for us to deal with. So this is what you use to remove that, but also just being able to remove smaller stuff and 3 drops and 2 drops and swinging into something else. And it's a 10k as well at the end of the day. 4 future Gohans. This is again sort of my linchpin for the deck. Outside of something like Broly, of course. But this card here, being able to KO a 3 or less or play a 3 or less, allows you to have a little more versatility when you're actually using this card. So obviously you can play any of these cards here, but being able to play Cell Jr. allows you to, you play this for free, add back an extra card. So you're playing a card, which is then granting you a card from the drop area. So you're not really losing a card, you're just plussing 1, and now you have a 10k combo on board, right? This is such a powerful combination, and I haven't really seen it being abused in a lot of these other decks. This is definitely something I would recommend testing out just so you get sort of the hang of it. But this allows you to play sort of a different mid-range style than other green decks can, because you're just able to recycle so many resources. Any of the extra cards that you use in the deck, you're just able to get them back, and now your opponent has to, they know what you have, and it just makes it a little harder for them to actually push through your defenses. 2 of the ramp Gokus, just because I don't think it's as valuable. If you really want this card to be a little bit higher, 3 I would say is the max. A lot of the times I wouldn't even play this card. I would just charge it, and I would forego it to play Gohan, because then I can still ramp off the trunks. And I don't really care about using my leader effect. If I have to pop an energy, I'm going to pop an energy. It doesn't really matter to me that much. Just because we're playing a different sort of style than the other green decks would. We're not solely focused on just going into Broly later on in the game. 3 of the 6-drop Gohans. This is another card that a lot of green decks are not playing or not utilizing for some reason. Everyone sort of focuses on playing the droid card, and I do think as we get into set 3, I think people are going to realize that card is just no longer as good as it once was, especially since a lot of cards are now coming out that are 4 costs that are going to be pretty strong, and that card can't hit 4 costs. Also, it's a 0k combo, which is really bad. So why not switch to a 35k double striker that also is a 10k combo? Just seems better from that, that standpoint, right? There's also a cool little trick you can do if you don't have a Goku in your drop area for some reason. You have one in your energy. You can swing at this, activate your leader effect, and then pop that Goku, and then this card will instantly gain double strike. It's just kind of a cheeky way of maybe being able to steal a win. Most of the time you're gonna have a Goku in there because you have 10 Goku targets. So most of the time that's gonna happen, but it's just it's one of those possibilities that can happen. 4 King Vegeta super combos, not much to say there. You can actually run any of them, it doesn't really matter in this deck. 2 Senzu Bean, 1 instant Kamehameha, 2 Earth Blowings, and 2 Gigantic Meteors as your extra card lineup. Out of these 7 extra cards, being able to grab them back with Cell just gives you so much versatility, right? Something like Earth Blowing being a 25k that draws you a card, very nice. 25k Gigantic Meteor, 5k buff for the turn, or a 15k for free. Cell Jr. is going to allow you to add any of those cards back. And what's also nice is that this actually allows you to charge these cards, which in green decks sometimes it's actually hard to find a card actually you want to charge. And if you charge a Senzu Bean or an Earth Blowing early and you use your leader effect, you can then play Cell, add that card back to your hand. So you're still getting value off the card even if it went to into the energy. It's almost like a Zeno from Masters in a weird way. But this is a very good combination, and again, it's something you should look into using if you're going to be playing this deck. Boss monsters, we have 1 Sun Gohan to help us clear those pesky boards. If our red and yellow opponents decide to build up a board of more than 2 or 3 cards, we can play this, kill their board, and then play this, keep this card on board for next turn, which is going to be a 50k swing, which is more likely never going to get removed unless they're playing green. And then we have 4 Brolys. I decided to go with 4 Brolys. I was running a one of Cell for a little bit, and as good as that is of being able to remove, which the ideal target was going to be removing multiple big green boss monsters or multiple Goku Blacks in blue. I've just been playtesting against a lot of blue. I don't think the majority of the field is going to be on blue. Most people are going to be on yellow or red now, since Beerus just won an event. So being able to clear the 5-drops, the 5-drop Beeruses and the 5-drop Gokus with this or this just works out a little bit better than Cell does, because then we also don't have to crack the energy for that as well. This is my list. This is actually the identical list that I would be taking to Gen Con or to Peoria if I was going there. So hopefully you guys test this out. If you guys do enjoy Gohan, try this list out card for card, see if you like it, make some changes if you guys do. But definitely give this list a try. I think this is by far the strongest yet green deck, and I think this deck can actually go the distance and take any red and yellow deck that there is if you're in that situation. So test it out. Let me know what you guys think, and like and subscribe to the video and the channel, I guess. If you guys did enjoy the content, let me know down below what sort of content you would like to see in these videos. I can make different videos for these. I can put them on Patreon if you guys want, or just keep them on here. I would just prefer not to make hour-long videos unless people actually want to see that sort of content. So let me know down in the comments. We can make a poll and see if that's something that you guys want. So thank you again for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.